What a blockchain is? A blockchain, we can say here, is a growing list of records that are called blocks that are going to be linked with each other using cryptographic hash functions. Okay. So here actually what will happen, as I have created it here, you can see like here we can say like these will be the blocks, okay, that are going to be connected with each other, okay, and how they are going to be connected using the hash functions, okay, and each block can contain the multiple transactions. Like the transactions here can be related to like some cryptocurrency, or like in case of Hyperledger, it can be the transaction of any uh, business transaction, okay, so it can be like a transfer of a car ownership, okay, or something else, okay. So in that way, a transaction can be any action that can happen in a business. Okay. So here, like a block can contain the multiple transaction. Okay. And by combining the multiple transaction, a single block will be created. And in that way, we'll be having the multiple blocks that are going to be chained, or we can say connected together. Okay. Using the hash function. And this combination of all the blocks is called what? Blockchain here. Okay. And actually, what will happen in case of blockchain network, if we talk about the blockchain network, like there we can have the multiple participants. Okay, like let's suppose these are the participants there. Like these can be the companies like company A, company B, or company C, or we can also consider them the different persons. Okay, like who want to run a business. Okay, so here actually what will happen? Uh, in that case, all the participants of this network, okay, will be having this blockchain with their self. Like here, the company A will be having this blockchain, the company B will also be having the same blockchain, the company C will also be having the same blockchain. Okay. So here, like the same blockchain is going to be replicated to all the participants in the network. Okay, so here like we can see it is in a decentralized network, we can say, where a single blockchain, okay, that also been called as a ledger. Okay, a ledger is what? A collection of records. Like here we can see the blockchain is going to be shared among all the participants in the network. Okay, all right. So a blockchain is a growing list of record. Okay, a blockchain is essentially a digital ledger of transaction. As I told you, like the blockchain, the another name for the blockchain can be what? A ledger. Okay, a ledger of transactions. And the transactions here can be like the transactions of any cryptocurrency or the transactions of any business actions. Okay, that is duplicated and distributed across the entire network of computer system on the blockchain. Okay, so here we can say like the same blockchain or the same ledger is going to be replicated to all the participants in the network. Each block in the chain contains a number of transactions. As I told you, like a single block can have the multiple transactions. And every time a new transaction occur on the blockchain, a record of that transaction is added to every participant in the ledger. Like whatever the operation is going to be performed over the network, okay. So all the participants will be notified by that, okay, because like it is going to be like stored in the ledger of every participant there. Okay, and once a transaction is stored in the ledger, the special property of blockchain is what? It can't be changed by anyone later. Okay, that is records are unalterable. Okay, that is why like it is generally being used in an environment where the participants are not having trust between them. Okay, because here like what happens, okay, will be permanently stored and no one can change it later on. Okay. Yeah. So here the records will be what? Unalterable, or we can say immutable. Immutable. Okay. So blockchain provides solutions for the organizations, or we can also say the peoples who want to work together to run their business efficiently. But the main thing is what? They do not trust each other. Okay. There is a trust issue. Okay. And here, like the trust issue can be resolved by the blockchain. Okay. So let's see how the blockchain is useful. Okay, we are going to see by in use case here. Okay, so let's suppose here we have the two persons, Alice and Bob. Okay, so let's suppose Alice want to share some document with the Bob. Okay, so traditionally what she can do? She writes the content and share with the Bob. Okay, so like she can mail the Bob. Okay, Bob update the content and share with Alice. So this is how the communication between Alice and Bob can be done. Okay, so both are not able to access the data simultaneously. This is the limitation of this particular architecture. Okay, when if they want to uh, access the data simultaneously at the same time. Okay, this is not possible here. Okay, so this is like just the traditional way of sharing the documents. Okay. So next, what can they have? They can have a centralized architecture style, like we can have the Google documents. Okay. So here, the Alice can share a Google Doc, okay, with the Bob, okay, and accordingly, like they will be able to use it. But again, there are some limitation of that. What will be the limitation? Now, the environment is centralized. That means what? Like if the centralized environment fails, the communication will fail. Okay, so there is a single point of failure problem still exists. Okay, so like sorry. So what is the problem with the centralized architecture? Okay, if you do a single point of failure, like if you do not have a sufficient bandwidth to load Google document, you will not be able to add it. Okay, and like there may be the chances of server crashes again, like the communication will break. Okay, so the centralized architecture will also be having the what? The single point of failure problem. Okay. So in that way, like actually we are having the three architectural style that can be followed. Okay. Centralized, decentralized, and the distributed. Okay. So in case of centralized architecture, you can see here, okay, we'll be having a centralized machine, okay, or we can say the coordinator machine or coordinator system. And if any node, like these nodes are a node here, okay, node we can say the machines or the users. If any node want to convey some information to some other node, first it pass to the centralized node or centralized coordinator. Then from the centralized coordinator, it go to the participant. And again, we can see here, like if the centralized coordinator fails, the entire communication will break. Okay, so we can't accept this particular situation. Okay, the next one, the next solution to this is what we can follow the decentralized approach. Okay, so in case of decentralized architecture, what will happen actually? Here we have few coordinators and these coordinators cooperate with each other and individual nodes connected to these coordinators. So you can see here, like let's suppose these are the nodes here and this is the coordinator of these nodes. Again for these nodes, okay, this is the coordinator and so on. And you can see all the coordinators node are also cooperating with each other. And in that way, like let's suppose later on, let's suppose this particular coordinator node gets failed. In that case, what happens? Because the coordinator node also have the communication in between, like whatever the nodes connected to this coordinator, okay, will now gets connected to some other coordinator. Okay, so in that way, like there is no single point of failure problem in case of decentralized architecture. But still, there may be the problem. What can be the problem? Now consider a case. What if the network get partitioned into two parts? Okay, so again we can say here uh, the communication will break. Okay, so finally we have something called as distributed architecture style. Okay, so in case of distributed architecture style, all the nodes participates in information sharing, or we can say the computation process. Okay, like you can see here, all the nodes are connected to some other nodes and like can communicate directly. Okay, so blockchain is a technology that enables to use the distributed architecture style to share the information among different participants in your business process directly. So to share the information between like Alice and Bob, what can be the best solution? Okay, they can make use of a network. Okay, that is something called as here what blockchain network. Okay, so what actually will happen here? The Alice will be having its own separate copy of the document. The Bob will be having its own separate copy of the document. And here in between, we'll be having a network. Okay, and it will be the responsibility of the network in between to like maintain the consistency of the document. Like here, as soon as Alice is going to update the document, okay, it will be the responsibility of this blockchain network here, okay, to update that information immediately to the Bob ledger also. Okay, in the same way, like as soon as Bob will update your copy, again the blockchain network will update the Alice copy also. So here the consistency will be managed by the network itself. So like it can be the best way to communicate between them. Okay, so here both Bob and Alice will update their own copy of the document. Okay, and it is the responsibility of the blockchain network to maintain consistency among both the copies. Okay, and this is how actually your blockchain network will work. Like here, like when we'll be having a transaction between the two participants, okay, so their ledgers will be updated, and later on, the blockchain network will update, okay, or we can say will replicate that information to other participant ledgers also. So in that way, like all the actions that are going to be performed in that blockchain network, okay, will be notified to all the participants of the network. Okay. Look, it follow both the approach, decentralized and distributed both. All right. So here we have a very simplified look of the blockchain to have like a more idea of the blockchain. Okay. So here you can see these circles are nothing but the nodes, or nodes will be what the users here we can say. Okay. And these chains you can consider as a ledger, or you can say the blockchain. So here what will happen? All the participants will manage their own ledger, okay, or we can say will manage their own blockchain, okay. And you can see here they are connected in a distributed manner, okay, with each other. Okay, let's suppose like there is a transaction between this node and this node, okay. Let's suppose if it is in a cryptocurrency, like let's suppose this is in a node A and this is in a node B. Node A has transferred 10 cryptocurrency to node B, okay. So that information will get separated in the ledger of A and B, and now it will be the responsibility of this network to update the information to other participant ledger also. Okay, so like you can see in the next one, okay, like let's as soon as like there will be a transaction, okay, so that information will be broadcasted to all the other participants. So like a new block will be added in the ledger of all the participants there, okay. And once that block has been added, once the data has been uploaded there in the ledger, okay, no one, any one of the participant there will not be able to change it, okay. So here, like every node maintains a local copy of the global data seed. Okay, that will be the ledger here. The system ensures the consistency among the local copies, as I told you. Like here, it will be the responsibility of the network itself. Okay. The local copies at every node is identical. Okay. The local copies are always updated based on the global information. Like as soon as like there will be any transaction. Okay. So depending upon that, the information will be broadcasted to all the participants, and we call this a public ledger. Okay, like this type of records that we are going to maintain here, we can say it as in what, as a ledger. Okay, what actually it will be a, like we can say, a database of historical information. Yeah, obviously. Look, here the main reason why we are using it is what, like we want to maintain, okay, a whole history of our business, okay, like so that later on no one will be able to like deny anything, okay, that action done by any of the participant. Okay, so here the main thing is what, look, it required like more memory as well as more computational power if you like consider the blockchain solution. Okay, so like there are the specific use cases where we should apply the blockchain. Like if we have a very simple business, okay, then we should not go with the blockchain, okay. But for other things, like there are the lots of applications of blockchain where the blockchain can be applied, okay. Because right now we can see in every industry we are facing the trust issue. Okay, you can consider any, even like in case of supply chain also, okay, like it can be the supply chain related to the like the farming industry. Like for example, you are eating the bread, okay, like from where it has come, how it has been grown, type of thing, okay. So like if it will be on the blockchain, everything can be monitored, okay, in case of supply chain. And in case of other things also, like the cryptocurrency, or in case of like any other businesses, okay, banking sector and so on. Like there are the several sectors where we can apply the concept of blockchain. But obviously, like if it is not required, okay, if like there is no trust issue, we should not go for the blockchain. Obviously, it will take more power, more computational power, more memory, everything will be required hugely. Okay. And also it is quite complex. Okay, so what actually ledger is? A database of historical information available to everyone. Why we are saying the historical information, like we are considering it like it is going to have long data, okay, like the data of 10 years or 15 years and so on. Maybe, yeah, obviously. Look, actually, let me tell you a use case, a live use case of which company. And there is in a US company, what their name, Mega Mart, which mart this is? Can you tell me? Uh, After the Amazon, okay, that is the biggest one. That also like bought the Flipkart, Walmart, yeah, Walmart. Actually, what happened? Uh, Walmart was selling the meat, okay, in the China, okay. So what happened? Like the that meat was in like lakhs of tons, okay, that they transferred there. Okay, so what happens? Like in any one of the batch, what happened? Like there was some problem in that. Okay, so in that case, like at that time, like they are not monitoring everything. Like they don't know like from which, like obviously they will be having the lakhs of supplier from where they like uh, importing the meats and then selling it to the China. Okay, so what happens in that case? They are being forced to throw all of their meat. Okay, so and after that they came to IBM and like they want a solution like so that they should be able to track each and every piece of the meat, okay, like from where it has been come, like how it has been grown type of thing. So they apply the concept of blockchain over there, and now even a single piece of meat or like it can be any product can be monitored, like from where it has been grown, even like how it has been grown, okay, and what are the different phases through which it has came to us, okay. So everything can be written in the ledger as you can see here. And why everyone is going to be trust over the ledger? Because once the information written there, no one will be able to alter, okay. So like here we have the several use cases where we can apply it, okay. Okay, so here like we have a very simple example to just understand the concept of blockchain. Okay, we have taken a very simplified use case from the banking sector. Okay, so let's see it. We'll be getting a more idea of it, like how actually it works. So let's suppose we are having the four participants in the blockchain network: Alice, Bob, Jane, and Eve. Okay, and you can see here, these blocks are nothing but we can say the ledger. Okay, ledger of the historical records. So when they started this particular blockchain network, let's suppose initially the Alice is having 100 rupees, okay, in their account. Okay, so this is the information updated in the Alice ledger. And obviously, the same information is broadcasted to all other participants. So Bob, Jane, and you also knows that like the Alice is having 100 rupees in their account. Okay. So everyone ledger will be updated by the Alice 100 rupees here. Okay. Now let's say Alice gives 50 rupees to Bob. Okay. So there is a transaction in between Alice and Bob. So in that case, obviously a new transaction will be added in the public ledger. Okay. And also that need to be updated with all the participant public ledger. You can see here, Alice transfer 50 rupees to Bob. Okay. And the same information gets updated to the ledger of all the participants. And how these blocks of transaction are going to be connected with each other using the hash function that we'll see later. Okay. Let's say now we have the third transaction. Now the Bob makes payment of 30 rupees to you. Okay, again, you can see here the third transaction will be added there. Okay, and again, like it is going to be changed using the hash function there. Okay, and this information gets updated in the ledger of all the participants. Now let's say Alice want to make a payment of 80 rupees to Jane. Okay, so now can Alice make a transaction of 80 rupees to Jane? No, because we can see every participant from here can see Alice doesn't have enough money in their account. Okay, so this particular transaction will be declined by the network itself. Okay, and for that we have something called as consensus algorithms in blockchains. Okay, that are generally being used uh, to check the legitimacy of the transaction, like whether a particular transaction is legitimate or not. Because this would not be the case, like the false transactions would get updated in the ledger. So like before actually executing the transaction, it is going to be checked. Okay, we'll be having a contract written there, that is something called as smart contract. That will be having the rules and regulations there. Okay, and like every transactions is going to be checked against those rules and regulations. If that rules and regulation will be followed, okay, only then that particular transaction will be updated. So here you can see here, because the Alice doesn't have the 80 rupees in their account, so this transaction will be declined by the network itself. Okay. Okay. So, but by looking at the ledger, we already know like Alice have only 50 rupees in hand. That means this particular transaction is not valid. And all the parties involved knows this. So this transaction will be blocked and not updated in the ledger. Okay. Actually, this work in the real-time environment, like which transaction is valid and which one is not, will be done by the smart contract. Okay. The smart contract will be like something that we are going to return here, and like we will try to return in the Node.js. Okay, that will gets executed every time then when we like make a transaction. Okay, like if it will satisfy the condition of the contract, only then it will be successful. Otherwise, it will be declined by the network itself. Okay, so like you can see here, this is how actually your blockchain network will work. And here, like for example, you can say like every block is just contain a single transaction, but in the real time, a single block can contain multiple transactions. Okay, like if you take the example of Bitcoin, a single block can contain even more than thousands of transactions. Okay, so that can be the time base. Like in a 1 minute, whatever will the number of transactions will get updated in a single block. Okay, and that will be like appended to the existing blockchain using the hash function. There are certain consensus algorithms that are also being used to calculate that. Okay, we'll see that later. Yeah. Okay, so let me know up to this point if you are having in doubt. Okay. So here we can say like the blockchain works like a public ledger, but like there is a number of different aspects, okay, that we need to be ensured here. Like the first one is the protocol for the commitment. What actually it is, like whenever someone making a new transaction, during that time, you need to ensure if the transaction is valid, it will get committed to the existing public ledger. Otherwise, that entry should not be there in the ledger. So means should be declined in a specified amount of time. So there will be a protocol, there will be a set of rules, okay, that are going to be decided like whether a particular transaction is valid or not. Okay, and for that I already told you like we are having what the smart contract. Okay, the next is something called as consensus. That is a technical term that we use here, that ensure the local copies are consistent and updated. That you can see here, like for example, you can see here as soon as there is a transaction between Alice and Bob, so it will be the responsibility of the network. Like that information should be broadcasted, should be updated to the ledgers of all the participants, so that like all the participant ledger are identical. Okay, and this is something called as what consensus. Okay. Next, we have the security. The data needs to be tamper-proof. Note that the client may act maliciously or can be compromised. Okay, the security also need to be like tamper-proof there, and also the privacy and authenticity. Privacy of the users and also the authenticity of them need to be ensured. And how can we ensure that? Okay, we will see that. Okay, so here we can have like a formal definition of blockchain. A blockchain is an open means like everyone can join it, distributed ledger that can record the transaction between two, or in place of two, it should be like any number of parties efficiently and in a verifiable and permanent way. So what actually means by verifiable? Like everyone can verify like which transaction is made by who. Okay, like here in the example you can see like Alice made a transaction of 50 rupees to go. So every participant in the network can verify like this transaction was made by the Alice to both. Okay, so in that way, like every transaction can be verified by any party. Okay, and in a permanent way means what? Like once the information gets stored there, no one will be able to change it. Okay, so yeah, in that way, like we are saying it. As I told you, like we can say it is distributed or decentralized, like no single party control. Okay. That's all about the first lecture we are having here. Okay, and how am I supposed to share these lectures with you? Do you require these lectures? So in that case, either you can send me your email ID, I can mail you that, or what else we can do is, or I will share a drive link, okay, a Google Drive link I will share with you. Okay, from there you'll be able to download it. Okay, I will upload it there. Okay. Okay, so before ending the class, just remind me about it. Okay, I will provide you a drive. Okay, let me also complete one more lecture, one more theory lecture, and tomorrow we'll be starting with the Node.js. A blockchain from a historical perspective. All right. So as I told you, like in case of blockchain, how the blocks are going to be connected with each other? As I told you, like they are going to be connected with each other using the hash functions. Okay. So what actually, so the first historical perspective component of the blockchain will be what the hash functions. So what actually in hash function is? It can map any size data to fixed size. This is the formal definition of a hash function we can say. So here like we can have a definition like hashx equals to x mod n. So where x and n are the integer and the this percentage is the modular, or we can say mode operation. So here like no matter what is the size of x here, okay, the value of hx will always will fall within the range of what 0 to n minus 1, and this is obvious here like you can see. I hope you are getting this point. Like here we are saying like x mod n, and we are always going to get the output between the range of what 0 to n minus 1, because here like we are going to get the mode like it can be the value of x, okay, and let's suppose the value of n is 5. So in that case what can be the possible output? The possible output can be either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 and nothing else. So here you can see the output will be of specific size no matter what is the length, okay, or how big the input is. Okay, it can be of any length, but the output will always be of fixed size. Okay, this is what your hash function does. Okay, all right. So there are certain properties of hash function, and it is due to the hash function why we are saying like these are the immutable block. Like once the information stored in them, okay, no one will be able to alter it. Okay, and this is the hash function, okay, that enables this. This is due to the hash function themselves. Okay, so these are the one-way function. This is the first property of them. Means given a x, means given an input value, we can compute the hash of that. But given an hash, there is no deterministic algorithm to compute the x band. Means given an input we can calculate the hash, but given an hash using any deterministic algorithm, we can't calculate the input. Okay, and the another property is what? For two different input, like for example we have x1 and x2, the value of hashes like we can say hx1 and hx2 will always be different. Okay, that is also property. So from here we can also have one more definition of blockchain. So blockchain is nothing but we can say a data structure built upon the concept of what? Hash functions. Okay. So here are like some of the examples of the algorithms, like we are having the MD5, SHA-256 and so on. Okay. So here you can see like by applying any of these algorithm, you can see here these are certain inputs. Okay. And here we have applied the hash function. These are the outputs of the hash. Okay, so just notice the output. Like in case of fox, and in case of the red fox jumps over the blue dog. Okay, you are getting like the same type of output. Okay, but it is quite different. Okay, and the important thing is what? Even if there is a very small change in the input, okay, that is not going to affect the output. Means don't think like there will only be a slight change in the output. The output is going to be changed completely in that case. Like you can see the second and the third one. Only the differences of V and U are there. Okay. And you can see the difference in the output. The outputs are the completely different here. So a small change in the data results in a significant change in the output. Okay. And this property of hash function is called what? Avalanche effect. Okay. So like if anyone wants to change any data in the blockchain, okay, everything will be changed and everyone will be notified. So that is why like no one even tried will not be able to change the data there. Okay, so here we have the first use of the concept of the blockchain. The same type of concept are being used in the year of 1991 by Harper and Stornetta. Actually, they published a paper for time stamping a digital document. Okay, so they define a method to edit a document by multiple people in a secure way. Okay, like they want to ensure that like no one later on should be able to deny that he has not updated the digital document. So they want to find a way, okay, to monitor like who has updated the document at what time. Okay, so like this is the way. Okay, let's see like how they does it. Okay, so they use exactly the same concept as we use in the concept of blockchain. Okay, so here you can see it can be considered like the different copies of the digital document. So here at this time, let's suppose a first person came and updated the document. Okay, so here we have the certain thing like you can see 0, 1, 2, 3. These we can consider here the, like the sequence number. C1, C2, C3, C4 can be considered the ID of the clients who came here to update the document. TS1, 2, 3 can be considered timestamp. At what time it has been done. And H0, H1, H2, H3 can be considered as the hashes of their previous block. Like for H1, H0 is the hash of its previous block. For H2, H1 will be the hash of the previous block and so on. Okay. So here, whenever a client access a document, okay, a block is going to be constructed, okay, consisting of what? The sequence number, client ID, timestamp, and a hash value from the previous request. And the entire thing is hashed to connect it to the previous block. Okay. So what actually will happen? Like here, you can consider the H2 block. Okay. So how the H2 is going to be connected with the H1? So they are going to be hashed all these things. Okay. And whatever will be the hash using that, it is going to be connected with their previous block and so on. So in that way, all of them are going to be connected with each other. No, like, let's see. So like no one will be able to make change in the timestamp value. Okay, later on. So no one can deny that he makes any update in the doc. And why no one will be able to like change anything there? Let us suppose that if one wants to change the TS1, okay, this particular entry, then he has to change all the hashes. Okay, like if there is any change in the TS1, okay, you can see here the TS1 is being used to calculate the H1. And again, you can see the H2 is being calculated by making use of the H1. So if there is any change in the sequence number, in the client ID, in the timestamp, okay, or in something else, so all the remaining hash value will be changed. Okay. So in that way, no one will be able to alter anything later on. Otherwise, like everything going to be changed. Okay. So that is why we can say like here, if we are using the hash to change the blocks, okay, they become immutable. Okay. That is the main reason. Because like if anyone want to change anything, the other entries are going to be affected and everyone will be aware of it. Okay. And like it is not up to the human computational capacity, okay, like to uh, manipulate all the hashes, okay, like in that way we can have the lakhs of hashes, okay, and obviously no one can manipulate them. Okay, so like if only a single entry will be changed, everything will be changed. Okay, you can see here, let's suppose the TS1, there is a slight difference in TS1. So H1 will be changed significantly, as we already know, this is the property of hash function. A slight change will change the output drastically. And again, because H1 has been changed, obviously it will affect the H2. Because H2 has changed, it will affect the H3 and so on. Okay. So here, they ensured that no one later on should be able to deny, like at that particular time, that particular client has made or has updated the document. Okay, so like this is how they monitor the updates in a digital document. Okay, like the client one has made made the update at that particular date and time, client two at that time, and so on. Okay, and the same concept are being used in the blockchain. Okay, I think you must already know like the Bitcoin was the first implementation of the blockchain. Okay, that are being given by the Satoshi Nakamoto, and the same concept is being followed by him. Okay, and you can see in the year 1991, the similar concept has already been given by these two scientists, Harper and Stornetta. Okay.